Okay, and we are live. Welcome to a new episode of All Things Xbox Podcast. I can't speak today. All Things Xbox Podcast. I need a drink. Now, for people that's tuning in now, live or later on, it's only going to be on Wednesday this week. Logan couldn't make it yesterday, so from next week we'll get back to normal. But anyway, Logan is back. Logan, how you doing this week?
Doing good. Happy to see y'all again and talk all things Xbox. I mean, it's been a very busy couple of weeks since last I was on, and we have a lot to discuss. So how are you, man?
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, since we last spoke, I mean, I've had a birthday. It's hot as hell out in the UK at the minute. By the way, if
That pizza looked incredible, by the way.
yeah, yeah, I get a pizza every single birthday, just because I eat healthy pretty much year round, and I treat
hmm
myself on my birthday, and let me tell you, that was the best pizza I've ever ate in my life. My God,
I mean, it looked good.
yeah, I mean, the person that makes it is actually from Sicily, uh, and they put the toppings underneath the cheese. Uh, what can I say? Like, if people are curious, just go on any of my socials. You'll see a picture of pizza if you type my birthday in. But yeah, I had a birthday, really good. Basically, chill time. Hopefully, I get to spend some time with my mates soon at the pub. Everything's all up in the air at the minute. But outside of that, everything's good. And since the last show, there's been a lot of gamer news, but slightly cover some stuff I talked about last week because I did a solo show last week, and that was doing a solo show it's a pain because you have to, basically talk for 2 hours, moderate chat, keep checking social media, writing timestamps, and it's not fun. But when there's two of us, it's always fun. Anyway, it's been a long 2 weeks. Logan, what have you been playing?
Well, I've been playing a ton of Expedition 33, and just work. This is a topic, so I'll save most of the analysis for later. But my goodness, what a game!
Yeah,
Just like going into it, I figured I had vibes and just a sense that this was gonna hit the Lost Odyssey itch I'd been feeling, and boy, has it! It is just simply incredible. I'm about to wrap up Act One. It is just the characters are just so believable and wonderful. The story is phenomenal. The combat is pristine. I never would have thought of combining Dark Souls parrying and dodge mechanics with a turn-based JRPG,
yeah,
and then like the mature storyline and heaviness of it, but also some beauty and lightheartedness in it too, and the just the world and the visuals, the sound. Man, they found this guy who did the soundtrack on a SoundCloud. Are
yeah.
you kidding me? Just some random dude. And they're like, hey, this guy's not so bad. Let's give him a shot, see if he can make a game soundtrack. And now he's like freaking John Williams of gaming. Like, this is incredible score he's made.
Yeah.
And just yeah, I've been playing that. Tried out the retro thing today that got announced. We'll talk more about that later. It's fun and I'm happy it exists. I do have some pointers I'd give them, but I've been playing that Power Wash Sim. For chill. I've also been playing Crime Scene Cleaner, which I know it seems like I have a type, I guess. Um, but super fun game if you can overlook, like, if you're squeamish, I don't recommend it. But because like some of the scenes you clean up and the story is pretty bleeped up and
Yeah.
dark. But overall it's like really fun. It's like Breaking Bad mixed with Power Wash Sim, if that makes any sense.
Lovely.
And it's like you're in this crime syndicate and you're working for this big mob boss named Big Jim, and he is like a psychopath and he does all kinds of just wild things, and you get the honor to clean up after the messes he makes. And some of them are incredibly creative, and some of them are just like, oh my gosh, like, what were you on when you created this mission? And it's really fun, and I enjoy it. But just fair warning, it is not for the squeamish. And I've been playing that and Oblivion remake, remastered, whatever you want to call it. So juggling two major game of the year worthy RPGs and then a crime cleaner game has been basically my main rotation as of late. How about you, Jamie? What have you been up to?
A bunch of games. I mean, the RPG thing at the minute, it's incredible. Like I've took a step back from Oblivion because I thought, you know what, I'm probably going to put 300 hours into this. It can wait a bit. I've still got Avowed to finish. Been going through Avowed. I'm finally in the fourth area of the game. Um, the problem when you play games like I do, like a little bit at a time, it takes forever to finish an RPG. Like
I hear you.
Avowed is I'm doing air quotes, a 30-hour RPG, but I'll stretch that out over 3 months. And it's my fault. It's a habit I have to change. But yeah, Avowed's been fun. Oblivion, they've done an incredible job with Oblivion. I think my only problem with the Oblivion remake is the same one everyone else has, is that lock picking mechanic has been terrible for 19 years. Like it's the
Oh, it still kicks my butt.
yeah,
It's
and
awful.
I, by the way, I even recorded the tutorial and then played it in slow motion just to see if I've missed out on some simple mechanic over these 19 years. And no, it's a lie. They tell you to hit A when the pin goes to the top of the tube. No, I don't believe it. I think it's a lie. We've been told this lie over 19 years. There's someone at Bethesda that knows how this lock picking mechanic truly works. Otherwise, it's a fantastic game.
It feels like there's like a lag
Yeah,
between when it's actually up versus when you feel like you should hit A.
yeah. And I love lockpicking mini games. One of my favorite
Hmm.
ones is actually Fallout 4. Fallout 3, they nailed it with that. It's super intuitive. Skyrim kind of works basically the same way. And with Oblivion, it's not that fun. It's not intuitive. Like you can play through the majority of Fallout 4 with basically one pick, because you can feel the tension on the pick with the controller. But with Oblivion, that's not the case. I've been playing Expedition 33 like you, and that studio, they've knocked it out of the park. A bunch of ex-Ubisoft developers come out of the woodwork and said, you know what, we're going to form a brand new studio and make our first game together. And what they made is incredible. Like you said, the composer of the music uploads music to SoundCloud. The writer of the game was originally a voice actor that just thought to try it out. It's arguably one of the most interesting game stories in 20 years that we've never seen a game story like this before. And no wonder all these Hollywood studios behind the scenes were trying to get the movie rights for it, because there's nothing like it. The whole thing with the paintress and all this stuff, the Gummage, everything about this story, it's fresh. It's a AA game, and it does things better than most AAA games. It sold millions of copies. Um, the soundtrack, gameplay, it has elements from Persona with the relationship stuff. I don't know if you've gotten to there
Hmm.
yet, but it's just an oddly satisfying game, and there's elements from Lost Odyssey in the game. So like, I think like the developers, they made something special. They're gonna have huge success for this game, obviously. We're actually gonna get some merch soon. They're gonna make an esky, like plush type thing. That's gonna sell out straight away. But yeah,
Mon ami.
yeah,
Yes.
they're gonna do a fantastic job making merchandise for that game, and it's probably gonna be a big franchise at this point. They can do prequels. They can. I don't know if they can do a sequel. I'll let people know when I finish the game. But excellent game. I've been playing Doom: The Dark Ages. My God, that is satisfying gameplay. Like, oh my God, right? So like, Doom 2016 came out, and a lot of people were thinking it was going to be a bad game just because there were no reviews beforehand. Like, it's usually a bad sign for a video game where you get reviews the same day as the release. But nope, it was a fantastic game. They knocked it out of the bloody park. And then in 2020 we get Doom Eternal, and it's got vertical platforming. It's got the grapple and hook thing. It's way more refined with its gameplay. There's more gore. The gameplay is better. Some people didn't like the vertical platforming that much, but with this game, there's less vertical platforming. There's more enemies on screen. The graphics are better. The sound design's better. The gameplay is better. And I never thought the shield mechanic would be fun, but it is. Parrying in general is a mechanic I hate. Like, I hyped up Lies of P on Twitter for like a year before it came out, before it was announced for Game Pass and all this stuff. And then when I played the game, I was taken back because I can't parry to save my life in that game. So when they announced it for Doom: The Dark Ages, I was thinking, is this going to be a mechanic I hate in a game I end up loving? Turns out they absolutely nailed it. It's super intuitive. If you see a big glowing green thing, it means it's time to parry. And I never thought a shield would work in Doom, but it's just super satisfying. Like, you've never got to play Doom: The Dark Ages yet, right?
I have not. I very much want to play it. It's on my list. I'm looking forward to it, but it took me a long time to finally get in the mood for an RPG again.
Yeah.
And so now that I'm juggling two heavyweights right now, I kind of feel like I might wait.
Yeah.
But I do look forward to playing it.
Yeah, it's an excellent game. I mean, the game consists, and I'm surprised it actually tells you this information because some first-person shooters don't really tell you this. There's 22 missions in the game. It gives you a percentage for each mission, how much gold you pick up, because there's currency in the game now. And the funny thing is, I was thinking, how's currency going to work in a Doom game? But they absolutely nailed it. You basically unlock things that act like perks in the game. You can find these rubies that are worth X amount of gold, but you can only use them on certain items. They knocked it out of the park. And the funny thing is, in all the trailers, you see this giant mech that looks like it's in Pacific Rim, or this dragon that it has laser wings, which I didn't know I needed in my life. Some of the most fun I've had in a game in years. You basically feel like you are in Pacific Rim, fighting these giant demons, and then when you fly in the dragon, it's super intuitive. The controls kind of remind me of Infinite Warfare when you're in the spaceship. It's weirdly intuitive, which I really like. They added so many different gameplay mechanics to the game. They've removed the gore executions for the most part. I'd never used to use them that much in the past two games. After you see the same animation a few times, it gets long in the tooth. So towards the end of the first Doom game and a lot of Eternal, I just stopped doing them. You can get rid of enemies quicker if you just don't. It's like when you see people play Mortal Kombat at fighting tournaments, they don't do finishes because it's a waste of time on stage basically. But man, they knocked it out of the park. I think Doom has a bright future. Not that it didn't have one to begin with, but they've done something excellent with this game, and I have to mention it. And I've raved on about it on social media a lot. Is that they've put in a cinematic story, and in past Doom games, we've had some storyline, stuff. We've had some cutscenes. Doom 3 had cutscenes, but it wasn't really the best thing. But no, they've leaned into it. It's full-on cinematic storytelling in a Doom game, and it's full-on sci-fi. You have these dreadnought ships run by demons. You have basically the devil who runs the army. I won't spoil it for you, Logan, or people in chat, but the stuff they do early on with the Doom Slayer, that's really interesting. And they've basically spawned Doom into existence as a cinematic sci-fi epic.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and I didn't know I needed Doom to do this. Doom's always been a fun first-person shooter. You go around, do the gameplay loop of collecting the colored key card, and then you go open the door, and then you fight another wave of enemies. They've changed the game. They really have. And, I've got to commend id Software for actually making the game feel fresh, because this is the third Doom game in, 8 years, essentially. And they keep making this franchise feel fresh. And, There's an expansion coming out, I believe, later this year for the game, and not doing multiplayer for the game has been the biggest thing for this game because they've put all the time and effort into the cutscenes, into the gameplay, level design. Every aspect of the game is better because they haven't done this tacked-on multiplayer thing. And in the past, they've kind of done the tacked-on multiplayer thing because that was another way to get revenue. Bethesda, before Microsoft bought them, like they were basically hoping each game would be this huge success so they can, talk about it and like hope people would buy, maybe microtransactions or skins and stuff. But no, they've leaned into single player, and that's what Doom's needed. If they want to do multiplayer in the future, they've got Quake, and there's rumors that they are doing something new with Quake. But yeah, I mean, what can I say? They've done a fantastic job, and if you've never played Doom: The Dark Ages or a Doom game in general, it's a good jumping in point. It's fun. There's a bunch of different difficulty modes. There's a range of accessibility options. And if you're like me, the second you start up the game, turn off motion blur. That thing does not deserve to be in video games. I don't know how people like it. I will constantly hate on motion blur from now to the end of time because it's crap. Anyway,
I hate it too.
Yeah, it's terrible. I don't get it. Do you know? Bit of a tangent. Mass Effect? Shocker. Mass Effect came out in 2007. I fired the game up. You end up on Eden Prime. And I used to think, and bear in mind this was on the 360, why does the game look kind of grainy? And then I went to the settings, and this was probably the first time I ever did this for a video game. In settings for Mass Effect in 2007 on the 360, there was two options toggled on by default, and that was motion blur and film grain. And I turned both of those things off. I hit the start button, and I was back into the game on the Citadel, and my mind was blown. Those two things ruin games. Take it to the bank.
And chromatic aberration. I don't like that one either.
Yeah, that's an option developers put in a game. Like, hey, do you know the outside of objects? Let's make them look fuzzy and colored. Right? like, why would you do that? Like, this crisp-looking doorway in this scene. Now it's going to be fuzzy, and it's going to have these like red and yellow bits in. Right? Nobody wants that in a video game. But for some reason, we get those options. But outside of that, it's been a good week for video games. Been playing all sorts. Now, I kind of have to weave in this next topic into another game I've been playing, and I'll keep this brief because I think a lot of people might not be interested, but I still need to cover it because you might be wondering, Jamie, why the hell is Ana de Armas in your thumbnail? Well, one,
she's great. That's why.
Yeah, she's great. Like, why not? But also, she's coming to Call of Duty Warzone and Call of Duty Black Ops 6. I mean, I was hoping we would get John Wick as a skin, and I'm sure it will come at some point. But, the ballerina, it looks fantastic. I mean, there hasn't been a bad John Wick film. So I'm sure this is good. It's made by the same producers and stuff. They doing the marketing deal with Call of Duty. I'm sure it's going to be great. But they're changing Warzone slightly. And, if my friend is listening that I play Warzone with, they brought back Verdansk, which was the original Warzone map. And let me tell you, I've hated on Warzone for years. And I've only got into it again since they dropped the new old map. And Verdansk has to be one of the most balanced, great, like, open maps in a game ever. It's such a fun map. So many different, like, areas that you can recognize off the bat. You jump out of that plane and you know where to go. The map we had beforehand was terrible. The whole thing was flat. There was a tiny city area. Well, anyway, this new old map we have, and I keep having to refer to it as that, they putting in the huge, tall building everyone hated from the previous map. I don't know why they're doing this. Maybe there's people at Activision that are pretty high at the minute because the worst place in the previous map, they putting in the map everyone likes. I don't know why. I'm sure if people complain enough, they'll remove it. But hey, it is what it is. And who knows, maybe it'll work in the current map. And for something I will say is that I always post on social media that I mainly play single-player games, and I do. I have found that playing Warzone, uh, which is multiplayer, is actually getting me more excited to play single player games because I'm sure most people in chat, uh, they have a game where you play maybe year round. Maybe it's Destiny, Division. Maybe it's a fighting game, Call of Duty, Battlefield, Halo, whatever. There's a game you play on a regular basis, and then you'll jump back into a single player game. For years, I've mainly had single player games and no multiplayer game. And now that I'm getting back into multiplayer with Warzone, it's made me more excited for video games, which I didn't actually see happening. So if people are like me, maybe you get a bit burnt out from time to time from playing so many big open world RPGs, maybe try Warzone. Maybe try it out. You can play with randoms. There's a mode called Warzone Boot Camp where it's basically Warzone, but there's 44 players instead of 150. My God, I never saw this coming, but I'm excited, so excited for video games at the minute. And we're obviously going to talk about the HellBlade stuff later in the show, but like, there's so many reasons for people to be excited about video games at the minute that not everything has to be negative. I'm a positive person. I think people that are complaining about gaming on a consistent basis and that's all they do, they're kind of missing out on the reason why we play video games. Anyway, that's Call of Duty Warzone. If people haven't played it yet, maybe try it out. And there is also a mode called Warzone Casual, where it is also 150 players, but there's some bots in between. And I'm not even kidding, Warzone has made me a better player with Call of Duty. I aim better, way better now. And, about a year ago, I started posting on social media saying I'm trying to get my COD legs back because, let me tell you, I was playing Resurgence with one of my friends, and he fell off a roof or something, or got killed by the gas, and he was spectating through my eyes basically, and he was like, "Jamie, I don't want to be mean, but the aiming's terrible." And I was like, I know, because if you play single player first person shooters, unless it's Halo or maybe one of the older Fear games, enemies always run in straight lines. So you can post footage on social media. If you play in a single player first person shooter, you can look like a pro because all the enemies always run in straight lines. Well, with multiplayer, I had to adjust to playing with real people again. And this time last year, awful. If I can find some clips, I'll post it on social media because my aiming was atrocious. Now, I'm really damn good. Preferably at medium range, close range. I'm still crap, but medium range, maybe within 150 meters. I'm really good at aiming now. But yeah, that's Warzone. And Ana de Armas is coming to Call of Duty. I think they said it's this week or it's with Season 4. But whatever, cool stuff coming. We've got a lot of topics to talk about. I'm not even kidding. We have 16 more topics. And I like to call this podcast a mullet-style podcast, where up top we have all the short topics and we have the long topics at the back. Anyway, Logan, I know you want to talk about this, and I think it's going to be a big deal, and that there's going to be a Gears of War movie. There's been one rumored for 4 years. Universal Studios originally had the rights to it. It's gone back and forth between different studios, and now Netflix finally has the rights to a movie. What's your thoughts, man?
Oh, I'm super stoked. Not only do they have the rights to the movie, but they're also working on a Netflix anime series for it, for Gears of War as well. So, really, with their quality that they've put out in anime with, Cyberpunk and several others, I have high expectations for that. And then for the live action, yeah, they just got the director who did Bullet Train and Fall Guy,
Yeah.
and worked on John Wick franchise. Not the head guy, but a guy who worked on it. So he clearly knows what he's doing with an action-packed franchise. So I can't wait, and I just thought that was good news.
Yeah, so it's David Leitch, and he's made fantastic work. I've talked about this film all the time on social media. The Fall Guy. In my opinion, it's the second best movie of 2024. It's such a fun film, and if people haven't seen it, please try and watch the extended cut. It's 30 minutes longer, and it's so worth it. It's funny, the action's great. Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, excellent film. And in my opinion, he hasn't done a bad film in a very long time. So yeah, the only downside for me, and it's Netflix. You know,
Agreed.
Netflix don't. I think Netflix, they make some of the best video game adaptations when it comes to anime, because they always get some great studios on board. But for live action movies, we will wait and see. And the thing is, I'm subscribed to Netflix, so I'll end up watching it anyway. But their animated shows, Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Cyberpunk Edgerunners is basically the reason why Cyberpunk is a huge franchise again, right? Because that game was fixed in 2022, but it was fixed the week Elden Ring came out. So nobody other than me was talking about it on social media. And then in the summer, they dropped Edgerunners, and that made people want to go back to the game. And they're like, oh, yeah, it's fixed now. And thankfully, we're getting a sequel, which we're going to talk about later. But yeah, I just want more good video game adaptations because in the past, we've had so many duds. So many duds. Like, what was it called? Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Possibly one
Oh
of
gosh.
one
Yeah.
of the worst movies of all time. And if people haven't seen it, the best way to get through it is if you get maybe like semi-drunk with a bunch of people and watch it. Outside of that, it wasn't good. There was a film that came out, I think, about 10 years ago. It was called Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li. Oh, it's terrible. Logan, did you ever see that?
I have not seen that one.
Oh, it's terrible. It's so bad. It's actually worth watching because it's so bad. Um, it stars Kristen Kurik, who's Lana Lang in Smallville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a terrible film, absolutely atrocious. But hey, I want Gears of War to get a good movie. We need Dave Bautista to be Marcus Phoenix. He's been wanting to play that role for years. He's been extremely vocal about it. It should be easy casting at this point, right? But Hollywood, it's Netflix. They tend to make bad decisions. But hey, we'll wait and see. And as far as I know, Netflix kind of makes films pretty quick, even their really good ones. So we'll know probably soon. They do have their Tudum thing. I think that's next week. Maybe we'll see some Gears of War stuff there. Maybe a teaser for the anime. Or maybe I'm just using Copium at this point. Anyway, let's see what we've got. Oh yeah, new Game Pass games. So I'll quickly go over this. If people wonder why I'm taking my sweet ass time talking, it's because my phones keep flashing and I don't understand why. Okay, where are we at? Okay, Game Pass stuff. Sorry. Now, Game Pass, we have a bunch of new games coming to Game Pass. Oh, and if people are joining the show right now, sorry, this show is on a Wednesday this week. It will go back to normal next week. If you're enjoying the show, please share it and all that stuff. It does help the channel out. Anyway, a bunch of new games coming to Game Pass. So today we have Monster Train 2 coming to Xbox Cloud, PC, and Xbox Series consoles with Game Pass Ultimate and PC Game Pass. And that's today. Next up, we have Creatures of Ava, which is coming to, let's see, Game Pass Standard. That's on May 22nd. Stalker 2 is coming to Game Pass Standard. Tales of Kenzera Zao is coming to Cloud, PC, Xbox Series X and S with Game Pass Ultimate and PC Game Pass on May 22nd, so that's very soon. Tom Clancy's Division 2 is coming to Game Pass Ultimate PC and Standard on May 27th. Now, I don't know if this has been updated recently, or maybe it's something I missed out on, but according to the store, it has a next generation upgrade. So even though it has been out for a while, I must have completely missed out on that. So that's good news there. 2T is coming to Cloud, PC, and Xbox Series XS with Game Pass Ultimate and PC Game Pass. That's a mouthful. On May 28th. And the big one is Metaphor ReFantasio. Is coming to Cloud, PC, Xbox Series X and S with Game Pass Ultimate, PC Game Pass, and surprisingly, Game Pass Standard on May 29th. Now, that's a pretty good list, not going to lie. I think the one that really sticks out is Metaphor ReFantasio, because that was arguably one of the biggest games of 2024. It's Atlas Games. I mean, they don't have a dud, really. And I think it was like one of the highest rated games of 2024. Logan, did you get to play that yet? And what do you think of the list?
I haven't played it yet. I did get the collector's edition and everything. It's just been in my backlog. And then just so happens we dropped two generational RPGs like at the beginning of this year as well before I hopped to it. So I haven't played it yet, but it being in Game Pass is awesome. Means I'm gonna get the credit from playing it for rewards points and all that. It's phenomenal. Kanzera Zhao is a good Metroidvania, and yeah, several other really nice titles. So it's a very good month, along with the retro arcade expansion thing that they've added for Game Pass users that features Activision titles. So very good day for Game Pass.
Yeah, good day for Game Pass. Oh, and I missed another one, and this came to Game Pass today. Oh, sorry, no, it is the 29th. Oh, that's still fairly soon. So that's Spray Paint Simulator. It's coming to Xbox Series XS, Cloud, and PC with Game Pass Ultimate and PC Game Pass. Now, for people that don't know, Spray Paint Simulator is kind of like Power Wash Sim, but instead of cleaning stuff, you're painting stuff. So I know, Logan, you'll probably like that.
Yes, it'll be a day one for
Yeah.
sure.
But and there's a bunch of new games or old games coming to Xbox Cloud Gaming. I'll go over a few of them quick. You have Brutal Legend, Costume Quest 2, Dave the Tentacle Remastered, Full Throttle Remastered, Grim Fandango Remastered, Max the Curse of Brotherhood, Neon Abyss, Quantum Break, Rare Replay, Scream Ride, State of Decay, Year 1, Steam World Dig 2, Sunset Overdrive, Super Lucky's Tale, and Zoo Tycoon Ultimate Animal Collection, all coming to Cloud. Cool stuff, and that's coming on May 23rd. Now, also, we have the Retro Arcade Collection by it's Activision games, and that's 50 plus Activision games. Now, it's been all over the place today when people were talking about it. This isn't a collection of games you buy. It's a collection of games that's streamed via the cloud, and it's by Antstream, I think it's called. Is that what it's called, Logan?
I believe so,
Yeah,
yes.
and they are basically a third-party streaming service. You can actually, buy the collection, or it's technically renting the collection on Xbox right now and other platforms where you basically have access to like old Atari games and stuff. Well, today it's available in Game Pass. There's a collection of old Activision games, over 50 available. You have everything from Pitfall to Mech Warrior 2. It's 1,000 gamer score. It's actually a pretty easy 1,000 gamer score. And yes, so people have been wanting old Activision games to come to Game Pass. This is a bunch of them. I know a lot of people, including myself and Logan, were waiting for OG Xbox and mainly 360 games, and I do think those will come in the form of backwards compatibility. But this is a good start to more games coming to the platform. And if you've been wanting to play some of the older titles from the 80s and 90s, this collection is available now. Why not? I do hope in the future they get native Xbox ports so people can play them maybe offline or whatever. But hey, it's a good start to all the Activision stuff. And it probably took this long because the FTC stuff between Microsoft and obviously the FTC, it's finally done now. Like, how many years is it, Logan? 2.5, 3?
Yeah, about three at this point. It was ridiculous, and we don't have to go into it again. But yeah, it dragged out way too long, and I'm glad it's finally dead, done.
Yeah, yeah, that was so exhausting every week. Every podcast was basically, and it was on this show as well. Like the FTC, ABC, all this crap. ABK, like all this nonsense every single week. Thankfully, it's done. It's dusted. Never again. But yeah, those games are available via the cloud. It's on Xbox Game Pass now, and it's just been added to the recently added section in Xbox Game Pass. Ah, that's a mouthful. Anyway, we'll move on.
Hey,
Again,
one thing before speaking of older games, if
yeah,
I may, I saw a cool stat today about Oblivion remaster or remake, whatever you want to call it, is that it has actually sold more units in 2 weeks than the one on 360 did in the first 15 months combined. So it was top of the charts in April, I believe, or one of the top games in April, and has already exceeded the first year and change of the original.
yeah. I mean, what can I say? Like, and I've been saying this for months. Like Oblivion is essentially a new Elder Scrolls game for millions of people. You know,
Hmm.
like how many times have we seen that meme of Skyrim's had 50 releases? You know, it had its Xbox 360 and PS3 release in 2011. Then there was the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 versions. Then there was the PC version. Then there was the Mac version. Then there was the VR version. Then we got next gen upgrades. You know, but like for an entire generation, like they'd never played Oblivion. They missed out on the magic. What made that game feel so special? And like I think it's really cool seeing everyone's impressions. And I think for the most part, everyone's kind of received this game in a really positive way, outside of the lockpicking. Um, yeah, I mean, hopefully it'll. I think it's probably going to be one of the best-selling games of the year because Elder Scrolls games just sell consistently throughout, and this is essentially going to last people until we get old Elder Scrolls 6 in what 2026, 2027. Yeah, happy to see, and you know, the studio did an incredible job with that, and we're obviously going to be talking about Fallout in a bit, but Virtuos, like their phone must be going off the hook at the minute because when it came to remasters, like I think the best studio is, and I still think they are the best studios, Night Dive. They've taken
Yes.
so much care of so many older titles. Star Wars Dark Forces is probably one of the best examples. The Thing, which they fixed basically, but the Oblivion remastered game, it's a remake. It really is. Like when you remake every asset in the game from the ground up, it's a remake. Yeah, the gameplay is the same, but fundamentally, like it's a new, fresh game. But hey, I mean, I think a lot of people are gonna have fun with this. I love seeing like new people's reactions to like some of the crappy dialogue back in the day because the best thing about this collection isn't just the fact that they fixed certain things, is that they kept in the bugs people liked and the audio errors with dialogue. And I think if they changed them, it would have kind of lost its heart, so to speak. But what can I say? The studio did a fantastic job. Anyway, let's see what we've got next. Yeah, again, we're trying to run through a bunch of the smaller topics first because so many topics. Oh yeah, Black Ops 7. This one's going to make a lot of people angry, I think, especially on social media. So apparently Black Ops 7, or the Black Ops game we're getting this year, is going to introduce wall running. Now, when I was talking earlier about my friend that I play Call of Duty with, when I told him this the other day, his reaction, it sounded like you gave like a child cold at Christmas. He was so because he plays Call of Duty every day. He was so disappointed by this like rumor that he was kind of angry, you know. And I think adding wall running to Call of Duty, like back in 2015, we didn't really need it, you know. I think every time there's been a new Call of Duty where there's no wall running, Activision always calls it boots on the ground, and people like that, you know. I think adding wall running into Call of Duty, it's just going to cause more people to step away, and they'll not play again until Modern Warfare comes out next year, which isn't going to have wall running. Logan, I know you don't play multiplayer, but what's your thought on Activision bringing back wall running for just this year?
I think it's a curious choice considering the hubbub about it.
Yeah.
But as somebody who plays Halo and thought adding sprint to it was perfectly fine, I just think some fan bases need to embrace certain additions or tweaks and reject others. And to me, running is not the biggest of a problem. If you want to you already have Nicki Minaj flying around, doing this or that, or like Ninja Turtles swooping in versus Homelander, and you got people dabbing in the corner. I mean, it's like, at this point, like, don't you think that is broken immersion more than a dude being able to run along a wall? Like, come on now. Like, Call of Duty has made its bed at this point.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I play Warzone, which is basically the only Call of Duty I play now, it is kind of funny because you could be running through like a train station trying to get some loot, and then Nicki Minaj will run past you, or like Homelander or Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead. I'm kind of used to it at this point now, but there are Ninja Turtles and Terminators. It is all over the place, but I think when Call of Duty multiplayer changed in 2015, like myself, like I didn't like it. A lot of people didn't like it. The map design wasn't really satisfying. But it is it. I've noticed Activision, uh, especially Activision with Call of Duty, they kind of act like how iPhones do. So you know how like an iPhone will come out and it has flat edges on the side, and then people are like, oh, I love this design, and then 2 years later they bring out a phone with rounded edges, and people love that design, but people end up wanting the flat design back. I think that's the same thing with Call of Duty. People want something fresh. They put in Omni movement this year or last year, and I love Omni movement. But some people want even more change, and they'll bring back wall running. And I think when it gets to maybe December, you're going to see a lot of people on social media say, you know what, we need boots on the ground back, because it's the endless cycle of Call of Duty at this point. But it is what it is. Again, if people are vocal enough, they'll change stuff. Now let's see where we're at. Okay. This one's actually kind of a big topic because I think a lot of people were surprised by this. Now, ever since we got these Xbox Series consoles, and PlayStation 5, a lot of people were like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we can play Red Dead Redemption 2 at 60 frames per second? And, there were rumors that Microsoft could have gave it a frames per second boost, but Rockstar didn't allow it. I can't confirm or deny that, but that was a rumor. And, every time I've talked about saying, hey, Red Dead Redemption 2, it's one of the best games ever made, it deserves a free next-gen upgrade, almost all of my replies are, but Jamie, they'll charge for it. And I always say the same thing.
Why it deserves a free one.
Yeah, stop giving them ideas. Don't let Take-Two take your money for the millionth time and we're obviously going to talk about game prices in a little bit, but, don't let them keep getting away with this stuff. Well, anyway, bunch of Rockstar rumors came out the other day, and I actually believe these ones, is that Grand Theft Auto 4 is getting remastered, or a port. It's probably going to be a port. And Red Dead Redemption 2 is apparently getting a free next-gen upgrade this year. Now, it's already native 4K on Xbox. The game is absolutely gorgeous still. It is literally still one of the best-looking games of all time. So I assume we're going to get things like 60 frames per second, shorter loading screens, that type thing. But, man, if any game deserves an upgrade, this is definitely it. And, if I'm sure people on PC, they've played it at a billion frames per second, but there's a lot of big action sequences in Red Dead Redemption 2. Logan, you still haven't played this game, right?
I still haven't played the second one. I've played the original one, which I consider a masterpiece, but I still haven't played the second one.
Yeah, the second one is it's a 10 out of 10 game. And the thing is, if you are going to wait to play it, may as well wait for this upgrade. I'm actually quite jealous because I would love to be able to play through this game again, just without knowing anything. It's one of the definitive open world action games, we can call it. In fact, I think Red Dead Redemption 2 is better than Grand Theft Auto in every way. But yeah, it looks like we're getting an upgrade later this year. It being Take-Two, I'm actually surprised it's going to be free. Who knows? Maybe things can change. But hey, it's good news. Maybe you're like me and you've been putting off wanting to play, replay it. But hey, it looks like it's coming. I suspect that's going to be something that's just going to drop during one of the summer showcases. There's the summer showcase by Summer Games Fest and Jeff Keighley, which I'm sure we could talk about in a bit. Maybe the Xbox show, maybe even Gamescom. But yeah, Rockstar stuff's coming. I think that a lot of people have been wanting 60 frames per second in Red Dead 2 for such a long time. Yeah, should be good. Anyway, we'll move on. You know what? We'll save the price thing for a bit. Let's talk about Marathon. Now, Marathon is also coming to Xbox. And,
For how long, Jamie?
Yeah, for how long? For people that don't know, Marathon is an extraction game made by Bungie. And extraction shooters have not taken off on console. So far, there's 2 available on console, and I do not like calling games bad. These 2 games are bad. The 2 that are available right now they just, if you're like me and you're like watching people play Escape from Tarkov and you want Escape from Tarkov on console, these games so far they haven't delivered. There's 2 games coming to Xbox and other platforms, which I was hoping one of these will give me that feeling of Escape from Tarkov, but on a console, and that is Marathon and Arc Raiders. Now, Arc Raiders was debuted, I think, 4 years ago, and at the time it was a looter shooter PvE game, where it was essentially more like you fought giant robot spiders and groups of people. It was more like a Destiny game. And they've listened to feedback over the years. And in fact, now it's an extraction shooter that has PvP elements and PvE elements, but it is a focused extraction game. And then you have Marathon, where it's a three-player team extraction shooter, and you essentially have to play in other teams. You can't play solo in only solo only queues. That's a mouthful. And there's no proximity chat, and proximity chat is really needed for an extraction game, because let's say you've got some good loot and you hear another player and maybe they have a bunch of good loot, but you both don't have much ammo and you don't want to risk it all. Maybe you can talk that other player down. Maybe you could say, hey, we'll both go our separate ways. Maybe you need to pass someone on the stairs and there could be no violence, right? Or maybe you turn on them. Maybe you get their gear, right? Maybe you make them angry and they send you a really nasty message over Xbox Live. But Marathon won't have that. And, we don't know how seasonal wipes are going to work in Arc Raiders, but we know Marathon will. Marathon is going to be a paid game, so is Arc Raiders. Rumors came out today that Arc Raiders is, in fact, a free-to-play game. I think it was the Epic Store in Denmark listed it as free-to-play. I still think that's an error. I think both games are going to cost $40, but we should find out soon. The rumor is that Arc Raiders comes out in June, and we should be hearing about something with that game in the next 2 weeks, from what I've heard. But Marathon, it's had its issues. Bungie, they used to be one of the best developers in the business. They made Halo 1 through Reach. Brilliant games. Then they went on to make Destiny. And as someone that doesn't play Destiny anymore, I will say this. Destiny has some of the most satisfying first-person shooter combat in any game ever. Their combat is bloody excellent. And, maybe it's not for me anymore because the whole shared world stuff isn't really for me. Bungie's had these ups and downs for years. They've had multiple different court cases, different people stealing art and reusing it in Destiny. Certain plot lines from Destiny expansions have been used from elsewhere, apparently. And now we hear that a developer or a graphic artist had basically hundreds of pieces of art stolen and reused in Marathon. Wow. And that was this week's big gaming controversy. And I think it was a woman. She had all of her art stolen. Bungie never contacted her. They never contracted her. And where if she was hired to be a graphic designer in this game, she could have made a living from it. She could have been hired as one of the main developers in the game. But no, they stole the art. And as far as we know, it was a old employee from Bungie, that isn't there anymore. I find that very suspicious. I think that's someone that still works there, and they're just trying to cover the behind, basically. But Marathon, people are calling them Concord 2. Concord, as people know, lasted 2 weeks, but Marathon, it's fighting an uphill battle. You have extraction shooters on console, which they aren't popular by any stretch of the imagination. Nobody likes extraction shooters on console because we don't really have any. And then you have Arc Raiders. And since the Arc Raiders closed tech test, or whatever it was called, multiple people have told me, saying, hey, Jamie, I don't even like multiplayer or extraction games, but I'm getting Arc Raiders day one. And, that's how much people love that tech test. And, from all the gameplay I watched, it looks super fun. The graphics are amazing. It's by ex-Battlefield developers. They also made the finals. So, you have this developer, this is their second game, they're knocking it out of the park, they're listening to feedback, and the game they're going to come out with is the game people really want. And then you have Marathon, which is, Bungie's in a tough spot at the minute, stealing art, reusing art, stealing plot lines from other things for Destiny. And then we hear that there's people behind the scenes that they are calling for the entire leadership team to be disbanded from Bungie. The whole thing's a mess. I keep seeing Art Raiders. My God. The other day, Bungie had a live stream. They had this planned, and they looked defeated. They really did. One of the people that was doing the marathon live stream was actually the art director, and I've never seen anyone look so defeated. Right? It was actually hard to watch. It was like, how you're not meant to look at a car crash when you drive past or whatever, but you can't help but look. This was that. It was hard to look away. It was awful. But they did this themselves. They should have went over every single art piece. They should have done reverse image searches on Google, but they didn't. So they're going to have to go over every single piece of art in the game just to see if something wasn't used. Because if this game comes out and it still has some sort of stolen art, lawsuits galore. Logan, I've been talking non-stop about this for about 10 minutes, but, it's a messy situation, and, you have Arc Raiders that are basically, they've been provided a win. And then you have Bungie that, every single time we hear Bungie in the news, it's negative news. It's never something, hey, look at this cool new feature, we listen to the people. It's just constant bad news.
I'll just be blunt. I think Bungie's cooked. You don't want a studio to crash and burn. You want them to be successful. But all the vibes have been just straight up horrible. They are one of the most radioactive development studios out there right now. Like Chernobyl. It is ridiculous. You've got, this is apparently the 4th time they've been shown to have plagiarized. How are they still even trusted to do much of anything? If it's one thing if you make an honest mistake, or if it happens once and you never do it again, but past 3 strikes, it's 4 times? Seriously? A major AAA studio, 4 times of blatant plagiarism. And and it goes to show just how far they went with this, because not only did this, quote, former creative artist work there that is now not there, but apparently a bunch of people from there followed this girl and were familiar with her work, and that she had hidden some memes in her work and other stuff, and that they magically appeared in Marathon and stuff when it was kind of like a fun, clever little art signature of hers, so she can be for daggum sure that this was her work that they took. And there's all that, plus the toxic culture, the just burning it to the ground, layoffs, the sellout to Sony, and just has been a dumpster fire since. And the fact that they have all this going on, and then they want to try to make an extraction shooter when that's not what their bread and butter is. And then they're going to try to make it a quote, not premium, full price title, but still a paid title in an already niche genre. And you have all this other stuff hanging over you. Plus, Concord had been, a disaster, so they have extra pressure on them. And my gosh, what was Sony thinking letting them look at Last of Us Factions or Concord or other stuff and taking their word for it? Because clearly their word on this is not that great. So it just, my gosh, it's a disaster. And I think it's a DOA game, but maybe it turns around, they rally, people like it, and they do right by this girl and these people that they have wronged for plagiarism. Hopefully, she gets like a good percentage of payments or something to make it fair or right. But yeah, I just this feels like a Bioware falling on their face again.
Yeah. Yeah, for people that's just joined the show now, we will be talking about the Randy Pitchford stuff in a moment and game
Oh
price.
yeah, don't even.
Yeah, that's going to be a topic, and game prices and all that stuff. But yeah, so the player. By the way, there's a thing that's in the marketing material that's I think it's like looting makes me god or extracting makes me god or something, and everyone in the chat for the marathon stream just kept writing plagiarism makes me god. And they saw it all. It was bad. And the thing is, one of the worst parts, like even outside of the, you know, outside of the plagiarism, is they're not listening to any feedback whatsoever. So, like I was saying, Arc Raiders. There's no negative talk really around Arc Raiders. People loved what they played. They love what they see, and it's probably going to be the extraction game to be big on console. Well, in chat, they were asked when it comes to Marathon, like, will they add a Sony, I keep saying Sony, solo only queue to Marathon? Because if you want to play Marathon solo, you have to play against other teams of 3.
You'll get your butt kicked,
Yeah,
most likely.
yeah, no chance of survival whatsoever. But if it's solo only, then yeah, that's fair game. And they said, oh, well, we'll look into it, but we want to do things our own way, the Bungie way. And then they were asked the same thing about
Their own way
yeah,
when it's plagiarism.
and then they were asked the same thing about will you add proximity chat, and they said the exact same thing, like, oh well, we want to do things our own way, we'll look into it. So they're not even taking into account other people's like wants and needs for an extraction game. But like Arc Raiders, they're doing everything to like listen to people's wants and needs, and it's just mind blowing. It really is. They've messed up on a level I've never seen before. Bungie, like you mentioned, the plagiarism thing has happened like 4 times now. And for people that don't know, there's story elements from one of the expansions I think 2 different expansions of Destiny 2, which was completely ripped off from this other sci-fi novelist, where basically they were taken to court because obvious story elements were ripped off from this guy's book. They were taken to court, and Bungie couldn't prove that they made the material because they sunset their own like content. So they couldn't take their own content to court to prove that they made this like sci-fi story. So they told the judge or asked the judge, "Hey, can we use YouTubers' lore videos to prove that we did this?" And they said no. So Bungie sunsetting their own content made it that they couldn't prove that they made it in court. Incredible. Incredible facepalm failure. And it turns out Sony bought them for $4 billion. I thought it was 2. Turns out it's close to 4. But like, this isn't the Bungie that made Halo Reach. Like, I think Halo Reach was actually peak Bungie, right? Because the way that game was received, the open beta, people loved it. And do you know what Bungie did with that feedback? They listened to it. So much feedback they listened to with the Halo Reach beta. And then when Halo Reach came out, instant success. I remember going to play Halo Reach the day it came out, and the multiplayer counter on the top of the screen, that day one, said over 1 million people were playing concurrently. Right? You don't see that in multiplayer games now. Right? Not Halo, not Call of Duty, not Battlefield, nothing. They will not tell you how many players, unless it's Steam charts and all that stuff. But for the most part, developers do not want you to know how many people are playing a game concurrently. And with Halo Reach, they had over 1 million people playing most of the time. And they just went downhill. And like you said, it's a BioWare situation. If Mass Effect 4 or 5, whatever people want to call it, if Mass Effect 4 comes out and it's a dud, that's the end of BioWare. And if the same thing happens with Marathon, it's going to happen with Bungie. And according to Paul Tassi, he said that if Marathon isn't in the top 5 NPD US for 2025, it's going to be a failure. Do you know how many
Even
games?
Square Enix thinks that's delusional.
Yeah, it's delusional because look at how many big games have came out so far. You have Expedition 33, that's probably going to sell consistently throughout the year. You have Elder Scrolls, a bloody Elder Scrolls game came out this year. You have Call of Duty Black Ops, which is releasing in October, whatever Black Ops name they call it, which is meant to be a sequel to Black Ops 2. And you know what else? Oh yeah, Monster Hunter Wilds that came out in February. You have
Doom the Dark Ages.
yeah, Doom the Dark Ages. You have Split Fiction. Split Fiction was an instant success. I think that sold 2 million in 48 hours or something like that. And like that's going to sell great for the rest of the year as well. And this marathon game has to be in the top 5.
Tony Hawk is gonna sell like
Yeah,
hotcakes.
yeah. Tony Hawk. Oh yeah, Metal Gear Solid Delta. Like, Borderlands.
Good luck, buddy.
Yeah, Borderlands, and we're going to talk about Borderlands in a minute. Like this game has to be one of the best-selling games of the year, in a genre that isn't big on console. Nobody plays extraction games on console. In fact, most people don't even know what extraction shooters are on console. Whenever I see some like huge multi-million content creator on YouTube, whenever they talk about Marathon and Arc Raiders, they keep referring to them as battle royales. Stark difference between those two things, right? you that's a topic for another day, but like they are fighting an uphill battle. I'd be shocked, and I mean this, I'd be shocked if Marathon is even in the top 20 for the year, because there's so much negative talk, and every time people talk about Marathon, people say shouldn't it be free to play? But Arc Raiders today, I've seen a lot of people today say they will pay for Arc Raiders. Right? Both games, same concept, same price basically, and people are willing to throw money at one and think that they won't even touch the other one unless it's free. It's crazy. It really is. And I don't want to see anyone from Bungie lose the jobs. It's terrible. Like the whole situation, what's been going on over there. It's again, they're fighting an uphill battle. I think the leadership needs to be gutted, and it usually boils down to the leadership. There's hundreds of hard workers at these studios, and it's usually the people at top making bad decisions that just falters everyone else. And yeah, I mean, Logan, have you got anything else to say on Marathon before we change topic? Because it's a messy situation.
Maybe they should change the name to Sprint.
Yeah, it's awful. What can I say? You know what? We're getting about an hour into the show. If you're enjoying the show, please like, share, and subscribe. I hate doing these little advertisements, but I can actually run ads during live streams, but I don't want to put people through them. I just don't. It's annoying when you're watching a live stream and there's an ad playing. But if you like the content, please share it. It's greatly appreciated. If you want to support the channel with super chats, that's greatly appreciated too. I'll answer questions, all that crap. Anyway, back to the topics. Logan, now I know you want to talk about this, and I have to reset my microphone in a second, so I'll have to leave you to it for a minute, but I'll be back. Logan, the BC team are hiring again. Can you talk about that for a second?
Yeah, there was a curious listing that was posted through Xbox career stuff that some people noticed that basically Xbox's backwards compatibility team and their hardware development and software forward thinking teams were hiring people to try to help older games run on future hardware and devices, whether via cloud, emulation, traditional methods, etc. And that apparently this has not been the easiest process in the world. They are encountering some troubles. So, and some, tricky stuff. That wasn't the only reason, but that was part of the reason why BC, stopped for a while. Is that, there were some technical difficulties they had to overcome along with licenses on some games. So the fact that they're going all in, Sarah Bond created a team to deal with all this, and that she is at the forefront of making sure that the next Xbox stuff carries libraries forward and that is a priority of theirs. So, Jason Ronald and his squad and the others involved are hiring if you're interested. And it's music to my ears. I know a lot of people think it just means the games that are already there, they're going to try to make sure work, and that's that. To me, I don't think they're stopping there. I just have a firm belief that they are not only making the ones that are already playable work and for sure future proof and go forward, but also wrapping up some loose ends on some stuff that they acquired through the ABK acquisition that applies to Activision Blizzard titles and Bethesda titles and whatever, cross pollination of publisher rights from owning all these things now that they didn't before. Because when you make a 70 something billion-dollar transaction that takes years, it gives you a ton more rights than you had before and ton more technology and all this stuff, and they're committed to it. They've said they're committed to the IPs and bringing stuff forward, and I really do think we're going to see more Activision and Blizzard and older games come to the library in the not too distant future. Whether a Transformers or something like that would happen, I don't know. My guess is that one's harder, but I do think we will see some again.
Yeah.
And it made me very happy.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people have been waiting for, like, even the original Call of Duty game. That's the only Call of Duty game you can't play at the minute.
Yep, classic.
Yeah, and like I would look, like I think I don't know if I've ever played the original, which was it's a single
I
player only
haven't.
game. But I would buy that in a heartbeat. It was added to Xbox 360 Classics collection, back when games had 200 gamer score. But yeah, I'd love to play that again, or for the first time. But I don't know, like I bought the Transformers Cybertron games, like brand new. They're literally on my desk, basically gathering dust at this point because I just want them to add them. Right, I've bought them, and hell, if they add them, I'll buy them digitally, and I'll keep these all like nice and wrapped. Like when the ABK thing went through, like 2 years ago or whatever, Transformers Cybertron was actually trending in the UK. Right, not brand new shiny Call of Duty game. It was an old Transformers game because that's what people want. And there's so many superhero games people want to get brought back. And I know every time I mention this, people talk about licenses. Like, I cover gaming. Right? I very much know about licenses. The number one game I'm asked about all the time isn't even a superhero game. It's a NASCAR game from 360. I can't remember what it was called, but there's a NASCAR game from the Xbox 360 that isn't backwards compatible, and I'm asked about it all the time. I think it's called like Daytona USA or something. But
Yeah, car licenses
yeah,
are awful. That's why all the Forza games get delisted. And
yeah,
they're first party.
yeah. I mean, look at wrestling games, right? Wrestling games, you can't buy like a wrestling game that came out 3 years ago, right? They basically get delisted all the time. But hopefully we see more games added soon because there's so many they could add. I know licenses are an issue, and I think maybe I'm huffing copium at this point, or hopium, whatever you want to call it. I think the Transformers games could be easily done, right? Hasbro have talked about plenty of times that they want those games even in Game Pass. So I don't know. Hopefully these games come soon, but it's good to know that the BC team isn't disbanded. They are still doing their work. I do hope they actually give us upgrades. Excuse me. I do hope we get upgrades to games because it seems like we never got a batch of upgrades after 2021.
Yeah, there was like one or two, and then it put on pause, and then Activision happened.
Yeah, and it's so weird because like this, I always post about backwards compatibility upgrades on Twitter because every time I post about them, evidently there's like a lot of people that didn't even know these were the things. Like Mirror's Edge, right? Mirror's Edge is gorgeous. It's 4K 60. It looks like it released yesterday. Final Fantasy 13, right? I will defend that game. I think it's a genuinely good game. It's shiny 4K, and it looks better than a lot of new games. Fallout 3, which we're going to talk about in a bit, but Fallout 3, you can play it. It's 4K 60, HDR, all that stuff. And, it's just a free upgrade. And so many games have these upgrades, and I was hoping we'd get more. But, hey, this is a good sign, all that stuff. Hopefully I do hope maybe we get a batch during the summer showcase, because they're going to have a lot of time to, fill up, and they could dedicate maybe 30 seconds to a sizzle reel of BC games. Again, I know that's heavy amounts of copium, but ever since the ABK thing was announced years ago, I think virtually every single week during this podcast, we were just talking about old 360 games. Which is it's basically the same thing every week at that point. Anyway, we'll move on. You know what? We'll talk about this topic now, because it is a big one, and that is Randy Pitchford suffers from foot and mouth disease.
Oh, again today. Did you see?
Yeah, I saw it. And, just for YouTube fact checker stuff, he doesn't actually suffer from, foot and mouth disease. But he messed up. So a fan 2 days ago basically said, hey, I hope, Borderlands 4 isn't $80. And then just, went on a bit, because, a lot of people, $80 games, I think, stupid. I think $80 games shouldn't be a thing. And Randy Pitchford basically said the worst thing you could. He shouldn't have said anything. He shouldn't have replied at all. He said that, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to get it. Literally, that is the worst thing to say at that point, right? He should have said nothing. And, he did also say he doesn't know how much it'll cost. And if that is the case, if that is true, that's fine. But basically telling a fan that, hey, if you want this game, you'll find a way to get it. It reminds me of Kaz Hirai back in 2006. Where he was talking about how you'll get 2 jobs to get a PlayStation 3. It was that same level of arrogance. And by the way, I think Borderlands 4 is going to be a fantastic game. It's probably going to be the best Borderlands game to date, because they've clearly listened to feedback when it comes to certain gameplay elements. But, man, you have so many games coming out this year. It's a stacked year. I think 2025 is going to go down as one of the best years in gaming ever. But games coming out at $80, I think, is a absolute travesty and shouldn't be a thing. Because when games went up to 70, less and less people bought games day one. And it's going to continue with 80. And I've been saying this for the longest time. I think the price of these games going to go up is going to cause the video game crash 2.0. I 100% believe that, right? So anyway, Randy Pitchford was on stage today at some showcase talking about Borderlands, and he was asked live, what price is Borderlands going to be? And he said he genuinely doesn't know. And then he went on to talk about how, the price of these games, or the cost of these games, has gone up considerably. Borderlands 4 cost twice as much to make than Borderlands 3. And, they need to account for that. Of course, they want as many people as possible to play these games, but the game does need to make money. And I 100% get that, but I think 80, you're pushing $100 for a video game, right? And forget dollars for a minute. Look in the UK, right? Are you telling me games are going to cost £80? Logan, do you know £80 is about $96?
Yeah, good grief. That's just stupid.
Yeah, and if you live in Australia or Canada, that's even more. You're looking like $120 for a video game at that point. And I've complained about $70 games since 2020. I'm not going to shut up because they go up to 80 all of a sudden. Randy Pitchford dealt with this situation the worst way possible. If Take-Two have not decided what they're going to charge for this game yet, just shut up. Don't say anything. And if he has to say anything, just say, I don't know yet. But when he mentioned the game costs twice as much to make, it's 80. I 100% think Borderlands is going to be 80. They are going to open up pre-orders very soon, and we are going to find out officially then. But it's a slippery slope. Nintendo were basically the first ones to come out and say, hey, Mario Kart Worlds is going to be $80. Not all games are going to be 80, but it's going to be the first $80 game. And then Microsoft said their games are going to go up at the end of the year. Although, as far as I know, Microsoft doesn't have a game coming out late this year. The Outer Worlds 2 still doesn't have a release date. They do have... Oh, it just occurred to me. Call of Duty Black Ops, whatever it's called, is going to be $80. Damn. But, like, the $80 price tag thing, I think is horrific. Sony's talked about how their prices might need to go up for hardware as well. Like, the whole situation's a mess. I think it's terrible. I don't know. Like, I talk about Mass Effect on a daily basis. It's basically a meme at this point. But, like, let me tell you, if Mass Effect is $80, or the equivalent of £80, I I will be tempted to not get it. I don't need to buy games day one necessarily. Maybe I get a review copy. Maybe I use my Microsoft reward points to take some of that money off, because that's what I do a lot. I've not bought a single game at £70. I've found other ways to get around it. 80 is just too much for a video game. Like, what could I realistically get for £80? I could have a night out with me mates at the pub. I can literally go to the cinema the next day and buy a pizza and still have change left, right? You tell me that a video game is going to cost close to £100, especially when people's wages haven't gone up to match that. It's stupid. That's why I always go against prices. It's robbing people blind. Logan and I, we've talked about prices for years, but like the stuff Randy Pitchford said, the fact that Borderlands doesn't have an official price yet, but it really looks like it's going to be 80. Like, the whole situation's a mess, man.
Yeah, it's a cluster cluck. It's just an absolute disaster of PR. Like, I'm shocked that Take-Two hadn't already gagged him by now. I reckon that'll probably be coming now, you would think, from a smart company like Take-Two. It might be greedy, but they're not dumb. So I think they will address that. And yeah, it's ridiculous. And then not only do you say something arrogant and completely out of touch and nonsensical like this and talk down to fans, like, it's one thing to say, I understand your concerns and it's a bummer, but it's a reality of the situation, and we hope someday you get to play it, or at a later point, or something. But just to basically say only real fans will figure it out, and the people who don't get it day one or can't afford it because of reasons aren't real fans. Just, it's not a good look. And then you double down the next day with a just a really dumb joke tweet about stuff, and it just, I don't know, it's just bad vibes. And I think it'll do better than Marathon, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's gonna set the world on fire.
Yeah, like, I originally thought that Borderlands was going to be one of the best-selling games of the year. But now, like, even if there wasn't that little controversy of him saying that, I still think, like, Logan, do you think if this game came out at 80 and he didn't say that, the game would still have a mess?
Yeah, because it'd be 80,
Yeah.
and it would be coming out in a year when Doom, the father of FPS, is coming out and has a awesome new game. Call of Duty's coming out later in the year. You've got all these killer RPGs, like a golden age of gaming all around. And then you're coming off the worst entry in the series history, and then you want to charge $80 on top of that. And yeah, it just, to me, it's just a bad time, and it's just not setting up for success. And then you throw in this, tomfoolery. It's a good luck, man. because I just don't see it.
Yeah. I mean, like I bought Borderlands 2 day one. I bought Borderlands 3 day one. Um, I I can't see myself getting this day one anymore because I was going to play this via crossplay because one of my friends plays on PC. Like I was thinking I'll just do crossplay with him. You know, it's going to be fun day one. But like 80. The problem with the UK pricing at the minute is that companies still don't know what to charge in the UK. So like across the board in the US, they're going $80. In the UK, I've seen some games get priced at £75. Like they trying to push the needle very slowly in the UK. But it's the whole pricing situation across the board's a mess. Borderlands 4 at $70 is still a bit much, but I think they're moving up the price. Like this year was going to be an amazing year for Take-Two. You know, you have the wrestling game that came out a few months ago. It's selling really well. You have Mafia: The Old Country. By the way, $50. And do you know what one of the big talking points was around that trailer? Not that the fact it looked great, which it does. It was the fact it's $50, right? And everyone online was saying, you know what, that's a really good price point. And you know, we've been talking about this for a while that video games need to have scalable pricing because a lot of the time developer will say, hey, our game is worth this, we'll get charged the full price. I'm doing air quotes. Well, look at Expedition 33. It's a AA game and it came out at I think $49.99. And more people are playing that because of its price, right? People that don't
I'd say that's more of an $80 game than
yeah, it's
this
ridiculous.
would be.
And you know, there's people playing Expedition 33 because you know word of mouth is doing that game a lot of justice, right? There's people playing this game that they don't normally like turn-based combat, and they enjoying it. Look at the Oblivion remake, $49.99. Right? It's ridiculous. Like these two games, and you know, I'll throw the Mafia game in. Like these three games, I think $50 is the perfect price for a AAA or you know a higher AA game because you have more people buying the games, more people will be there to invest in the DLC. But like at 80, you have so many people that are just gonna go, you know what? I won't get this day one. I'll wait for a sale because unless you cover video games, there's no reason to buy a game day one. Do you know, right? You might think what I've just said there might actually anger developers. There's been developers that have agreed with me. There's a lot of developers that do not like the idea of the prices of games going up. It's the higher ups. It's the executives. You know, developers don't want to charge an arm and a leg for their video games. They want more people to play them as possible. And this is going to backfire. I think Borderlands 4, it looks amazing. They're adding so many different gameplay elements to what I've been wanting them to add. But, like, it being $80, which it looks like it will be, it's going to backfire. It really is. You know, it's essentially going to be Take-Two's biggest game this year, slash 2K, because GTA has been pushed to next year. And, yeah, I think this whole thing is going to lead to a crash. Whenever I talk about like Game Crash 2.0, and I do the same on Mr. Boomstick's channel, that I don't actually mean there'll be no video games. I'll clarify this now. I think that, you know, less and less people are going to support AAA games day one. You're going to have less sequels confirmed because within the first month, developers, or I should say executives, want their game to hit their max ceiling and numbers so they can talk about, you know, how much, you know, what do you call it? Stock prices can go up, and then maybe they'll confirm a sequel, and then they'll put out a budget for that game. You're going to have less sequels confirmed because less people are buying games day one. More people are going to be waiting for sales because games do tend to drop in price over a month or so. There's no reason to buy a game day one unless you cover it via content. You know, and FOMO, it isn't a thing. Like, I keep trying to tell people this. Never feel that you want to buy a video game just because other people are talking about it, right? Unless it's a multiplayer game where you are genuinely missing out on a cooperative slash multiplayer experience, you're not missing anything out by playing a single player game a month after someone else. You might miss out on the zeitgeist type moment of people talking about it online, but what you're going to miss out on? A few likes, you know. And the funny thing is, I do know that there's people that buy a lot of games day one just to talk about it on social media, right?
Mhm.
Whereas they could have waited a month 2 months or even a few weeks. But the times are changing. It's very weird. We have the first super chat by Nick W. Thank you very much for the $5. He says, no love for Mafia 4. That is also a Take-Two game. I mean, I've just talked about Mafia the Dark. I was going to say Mafia the Dark Ages. That would be a cool concept.
That'd be intense.
Yeah, but Mafia the old country, that game looks phenomenal. It really does. It's one of my most anticipated games. I think that, that studio, they haven't put out a game in a long time. And I personally don't think there's been a bad Mafia game. Mafia Definitive Edition, my God, what a fun experience. Mafia 2, for people that haven't played it, it's weird because Mafia 1 and 2 are these linear games set in open world cities, but it works somehow. And then you have Mafia 3, and I loved the story and setting in Mafia 3. Mafia 3 was set in the late 70s in... I can't even remember where. It was like Louisiana, an alternate version of Louisiana, I think. But
the bayou and crocodiles and stuff. But
that was a fantastic game. There's not been a bad Mafia game, and this one's set in Sicily in the early 1900s. We're going to basically learn the beginning about that family. I mean, there's not much else I can say other than the fact that I hope that game is huge. It's $50 in the US. The combat looks absolutely nuts. It's this very weighty combat. It actually reminded me of Max Payne 3, which is always a good sign. There's racing segments. There's huge action set pieces. I think the studio is going to have a lot of success with that game. Logan, are you looking forward to that one?
Yeah, I do. It looks like a really good game, and I like the idea of early 1900s Sicily, especially seeing the origins of these crime families coming together and stuff. I think it'll be a fresh take on the kind of Godfather type genre. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I mean, if this does well, I hope we start seeing more like Mafia style games, because can you remember in like the 2000s where we had like the Godfather game, Scarface, all that type of stuff?
Oh, Scarface was fun. I wish that one was PC somehow. That was a fun game.
Yeah. Was that original Xbox?
It was on PS2, I know. I don't remember if it was on Xbox or not, but it was a really fun game.
Yeah, but like Mafia style games in general, we just don't get them anymore, I think, Saints Row used to be a gangster like Mafia type game, and look what that turned into. I mean, in the fourth one, you're a superhero in the Matrix, basically. But although I will say this, I absolutely loved Saints Row 4 and 3. Absolutely over the top games, but so much fun. But yeah, Mafia the Old Country, that's going to be a success. Like, its price point alone has got people interested. This is the first Mafia game, I believe, that's using Unreal Engine. They're doing a lot with that engine. And I have seen some weird takeaways online about it not being open world. Like, Mafia has never really took advantage of it being an open world game. If you're a Grand Theft Auto, you can have all these different side activities and stuff for people to do. In Mafia games, or I should say the first two, there wasn't anything to do outside of the main missions. So with them leaning full on, linear game design, it's probably going to work in their favor. They could do better storytelling that way. They could spend more money on individual environments. And honestly, we get so many open world games now that I'm actually excited when I hear a game is linear. But yeah, I think Take-Two, outside of the Borderlands thing, I think Take-Two and 2K, they're going to have a huge success with Mafia. I hope it ends up being one of the biggest games of the year, because maybe, just maybe, they'll actually look at it and think, you know what, maybe the price did help, other than it being a great game. You know what, let's talk about this quickly, because it's a negative news story, but I think, a lot of people, have seen this today. So, Carrie Patel from Avowed, is leaving Obsidian and moving to Netflix Gaming. Now, this is it's really awful to say, really, but Netflix has been known to throw around a bag, basically. As far as I know, Carrie Patel, she has a director position at Netflix. Netflix has been wanting to invest more into gaming, and if you open the Netflix app on your phone, normally at the top, at least in the UK, there's a bunch of like mobile phone games there. But there's also things like Grand Theft Auto Definitive Trilogy, stuff like that. A lot of people just do play video games on Netflix now, and for them to put more money in like games like this, and look, getting talent over there, it's important, but it's a loss to Obsidian because she's one of the reasons why Avowed is so great, and I will defend Avowed. It got weird treatment online for a bunch of reasons that didn't even matter. But Logan, what's your take? Because it's disappointing, but I mean, if Netflix was throwing around a bag, would you really say no?
Um, yeah, I don't know. It's odd. It's weird when people leave a studio, especially people that have been there for a long time and go to another studio. And especially when it's Netflix who has shall we put it, not had a great track record with game development.
Yeah.
So maybe they gave her a huge bag. And if so, congrats, go get that max contract, like just I don't know, she was really talented and really creative and I loved her work at Obsidian, so it is disappointing and a bummer. But, Obsidian's been around longer than even she was there. And, they actually made one of my favorite games of all time well before she was there. So clearly they still have veteran talent and they have new blood in. They will be fine. They will be great. I have zero concerns about them, but it is disappointing. But hey, if Netflix calls and offers you like bukus of money, it's hard to turn that down.
Yeah, I did hear that someone in a similar position got $900,000 as an offer.
I mean that's good money.
So like, if Netflix wants me to be a director of a video game, I'll take it. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. Like Netflix, they do need to make some good games because like they have like some smaller ones, and if they are genuinely wanting to take gaming seriously, they need some bigger games. They can't keep just basically paying to get Oxenfree 2 exclusive to their platform type thing. Um, but who knows? We'll see. You know what? We'll move on. This is what. Oh yeah, we'll talk about this quickly. So, Doom: The Dark Ages. Now, this story actually had me laughing because people have been all over the place talking about Doom: The Dark Ages, saying it's a failure, for one main reason, and that is Doom: The Dark Ages had about 30,000 people on Steam playing concurrently at its highest, so people were saying it was a failure. And it turns out Doom: The Dark Ages has reached 3 million players, and it reached 3 million players 7 times faster than Doom Eternal. Now, that's bloody good. There's a lot of people playing this game. A lot of people will be getting the Ultimate Edition or Ultimate Edition upgrade. Like it's clearly having a success, shall I say. But people keep using Steam concurrent players as a barometer for success. And time again, we keep hearing it wasn't really worked out that way. Like Logan, we say the Steam stuff all the time. Not everyone that buys Doom Eternal, sorry, Doom: The Dark Ages, I'm all over the place today. Not everyone that buys Doom: The Dark Ages is going to play it at the same time. And let's say it did sell less, hypothetically. Look at how many games is out at the minute. You have smaller titles which people love, like Split Fiction and Blueprints. You have AAA releases like, Oblivion Remake, right? People are going back to it for nostalgia. It's basically a 300-hour RPG. Then you have Expedition 33, which rocks, right? So like, if people and like, look at you, Logan. You haven't gone to Doom yet, but you do have the intention of playing it. And my point is that we need to stop using Steam concurrent players. Like, why do we keep doing this to ourselves? And I've
Can
noticed.
I go on a tangent about that and something
Yeah, feel free.
else
Yeah,
related to that? Like, yeah, I just feel like the Steam concurrent numbers thing or Steam numbers stuff has become like the new Metacritic like obsession.
Yeah.
Like there's always been this Metacritic score obsession to where if it doesn't hit a certain threshold, it's mid or it's trash or it's the goat. It's the greatest thing ever if it hits a certain threshold. And like I've been playing games long before I even knew that was a thing. And then a bunch of my favorite games of all time did score pretty well, but there are also some other ones that didn't. And it's opinions, it's reviews, but a side note, like the whole concurrent thing, like you said, not everybody who plays Doom, it's not like we're a hive mind and everybody's linked up and it's like, all right, guys, it's 6 p.m. after work. It's time to play Doom. And everybody who bought Doom goes and sits down at their PC on Steam and plays Doom at that exact time. That's just not how life works. People have other things going. I know it's a number people can use, but it feels disingenuous and not entirely accurate. Just like I hate it when people use the achievements or the rare
Oh yeah.
achievements in
Yeah.
certain games to try to explain like, see, nobody played Hivebusters or nobody did this DLC or this or that or whatever, and it's just I don't know. It's like sometimes people do those. They have a glitch. They don't get them. Sometimes people have already completed the game on a different thing, and so they're just playing through some other parts, or various reasons why. But I've always found that incredibly disingenuous to try to use certain achievement type things and then these concurrent numbers and stuff that are pigeonholed and restricted numbers to explain how many people are actually playing or enjoying this product. And at the end of the day, they have gone above just sales at this point. They're in player engagement and player base. And if if id themselves are coming out and they're happy and they're saying it's killing it and they're thrilled, then I believe them. They've been doing this 30 plus years. They're the forefathers of the FPS genre. If they're happy, I'm happy. So I have zero concerns.
Yeah. I mean, like I've said, I'm a quarter into Doom: The Dark Ages. It's the best one, right? People will talk about this for years and they'll continue to play it and rediscover it or whatever. They have nothing to worry about. Like Doom games that are good, they will sell well. There's been the the occasional. I don't want to call it dud. Like Doom 3 back in the day, people had the issues with it, and it was more of a horror game. Although I did like Doom 3. Um, by the way, what a technical showcase that was back in the day. Um, but like people will play it more and more, and it only recently came out, So like, it is what it is. But yeah, people need to stop using Steam numbers because it's time and time again we've proven otherwise. And sometimes people will use it as a barometer for success or failure, but I think that we're at an age now where I feel like people prey on things to do bad. Like a lot of people want like every movie to fail or every video game to fail. I see it all the time. Like a movie is like shown at the cinema or something, and people are like running straight to Rotten Tomatoes to post about it on social media, and the hope that the box office will go down week over week more than usual, because they want this film to fail. We see it with basically every form of media now, and it's really tiring. Like you can't objectively play Doom: The Dark Ages and say, you know what, that's a bad game, right? Doom, fantastic, fantastic game. People are gonna love that game, and them moving away from multiplayer for the franchise has done the game some really good justice. like Doom in 2016, the multiplayer I played was never made public, unfortunately, but like the multiplayer mode we got wasn't fun. The multiplayer, like realistically, I'm wondering, did anyone in chat ever really play Doom Eternal's multiplayer? Because I can tell you right now, I never fired that multiplayer up. Right, one person played as the monster or the demon, the other person played as the Doomslayer. Like that never once interested me. And yeah, it's just like, Logan, did you ever play any of the multiplayers for the previous 2 Doom games?
No, I didn't. Like, I played co-op on like some of the older Dooms, but
Yeah.
not the multiplayer on the newest ones. No.
Yeah, I never saw anyone post clips about it, talk about it. Like, I don't even remember those games getting map packs. Back in the time when those types of games would get map packs, but Doom multiplayer has never really been a thing that people bother about. Like, put all your time and effort into the campaign. That's all people want. If we talked about Quake, we can talk about multiplayer. But outside of that, no. Doom, it should stay single player. Nobody cares about Doom multiplayer. Like Call of Duty, Halo, Battlefield, Quake. That's it. But yeah, we'll move on. But yeah, if people haven't played it yet, play Doom the Dark Ages. Bloody phenomenal game. Even just for the mech, the giant mech and dragon stuff. Like the first dragon level you play on, I spent maybe over an hour playing it, getting all the collectibles and stuff. Imagine my heartbreak getting to the end of some levels and it said 99% of collectibles picked up. Like, I was so frustrated, but that was my problem because it turns out all that stuff's basically listed on the map anyway. But yeah, we'll move on. Okay, Logan, this story just went live a couple of minutes ago. Can you guess what it's about?
Um, let's see. It just went live a couple minutes ago.
Yep.
Hmm. Was there a new port announced, or a studio shut down, or a lawsuit? Something spicy?
Okay, well, Bungie's up to no good again.
Oh, was it a fifth plagiarism?
I would say thankfully not, but I think after what just came out, you would probably wish it was plagiarism. So this went live during the show, and ouch. So, Human Resources was working its own interest. Former Bungie employee claims that there were accusations against the company's HR department for covering up harassment issues so that they could get multi-million-dollar exits.
Sounds like HR needs HR. Jeez.
Yeah, so basically when Sony bought, and this isn't even Sony's fault, this is Bungie just being Bungie, but when Sony bought Bungie, a lot of the staff were basically offered huge bonuses for staying at the company and all this stuff. And it looks like that a lot of the stuff was hidden by HR so they could get more millions in the back end. That is corruption, if anything. Oh my god, every single day I've opened up social media and there's Bungie stories. How is this getting worse? First, it started off with, oh, Marathon doesn't have proximity chat. That was the worst thing, by the way, a month ago. Marathon doesn't have proximity chat, and now they're stealing art from people, and then there's HR issues. I think, and I don't like saying this about any company. I think Sony really needs to gut that studio. They really do. You know, get the best developers. You know, not graphic design clearly because they don't have any, because they keep stealing it. But Sony really needs to gut out that studio, get the best developers from gameplay, graphics, all that stuff, and move them over to their other studios. And if I remember correctly, I think Bungie and the I think it's Insomniac. I think they need one of their major studios, but they need to gut that studio. You know, get some people maybe on a Destiny 3, but like it's every bloody day something about Bungie. And the funny thing is, if you go back a few years ago, there were a lot of people angry that, you know, Microsoft let Sony buy Bungie. Like, I bet Bungie, shall say, Sony's regretting this. Like, Sony need to do something because this is bloody awful.
Some of the best choices are the ones you didn't make.
Yeah, like what a awful scenario, man. Like, and the thing is, for all we know, things are going to get worse. Like, we're hearing something new every bloody day about Bungie. Something's coming out. Man, that's just unfortunate. But yeah, we'll move on. I just did not see that coming. Oh wait, there may be more bad news. Let me check. Oh no, it's okay. Oh yeah, Battlefield may cost $80. Oh my god. Um, I'm really sick of the negative news with prices and stuff. Um, we'll
EA villain arc comes back.
yeah, we'll talk about that stuff again next week because there'll be more stuff about prices. But man, like awful. Anyway, we'll move on. You know what? We'll talk about this quickly because we still have a bunch of topics to talk about, and we didn't get to talk about this last week because Logan wasn't here. Uh, so in the past week and a half, the Fallout TV show was confirmed to get a season 3. Great news. But season 2 of the Fallout TV show is dropping in December, which is a lot earlier than I thought it would be because unfortunately a lot of TV shows take 2 years to make now. I hate that, by the way. But hey, this is a lot sooner than I thought. Well, it turns out there has been a Fallout 3 remake kind of listed in, the FTC documents from about a year and a half ago where Oblivion Remastered was also, mentioned. Now, I've kind of theorized for the past year that, Fallout, the 3 remaster or remake, will release around the same time as Season 2. So, I think we could realistically get the Fallout 3 remake or remaster in December. Now, Logan, I want your take on this because I didn't really get to hear from you last week. What's your take? Because season 2 is coming this December. The remake of 3 is apparently real. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm super stoked for the season 2. It looks phenomenal. They already renewed for season 3 before season 2 even happens. They had a fun little reel where they showed Goggins, ripping off the ghoul flesh, and he's finally himself again, and a fun, like, man, I am just done, like, let your hair down kind of thing. And it was really fun video, and I can't wait for it. Season 3 is going to be epic as well. And yeah, the Fallout 3 remake is real. The remaster is real. And if it's anywhere near as good as Virtuous did with Oblivion, my goodness, like finally we get away from the urine filter colored um, era again, or the greens and grays is mixed in, and just my gosh, I can't wait for that. And just to time it up with the Fallout show would be chef's kiss. Just I so hope that happens.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I've talked about Fallout 3 remastered or remake. We'll just call it remake going forward. Um, I I do think Oblivion doing so well opens up the gates to other games because like every time I've mentioned Fallout 3, do you know what the number one reply is? We need Vegas instead. um,
Why not both?
yeah, why not both? And I'm one of the people I prefer Fallout 3, but like hell, like if they do the same thing for Vegas, I'll play that. Do you know what I didn't like about Vegas the most? And I've had hate from this in the past. I didn't like the color palette. That whole game was bright orange to me, and I couldn't stand it.
Oh, it is ugly game. It is ugly game. It is the story is great and the gameplay, narratives, decisions, but as far as visuals, yeah, it is gross.
Yeah, and like I felt like every time I played Fallout New Vegas, my eyeballs were burning. But Fallout 3,
You
man,
sure that wasn't the cazadors
I mean,
attacking you all the time?
it may as well have been. But like Fallout 3, like that's one of my favorite games of all time, right? I love Oblivion. I could talk about Oblivion all day, but Fallout 3, like I love even more. And like that does have the P filter. The whole world in that game, like it is meant to be Washington DC, but all of the rubble is the same color. So you have like this mixture of grey, green, and yellow for everything. The ground, the sky, buildings you walk past and walk through. It's the same color. Um, Although on PC, when you play it, you can get all these like fancy texture packs and stuff. But for the most part, like if you play it on console, and by the way, the third person shooting mechanic, why is that a thing in older Bethesda games? It's not good. But like, if we could get Fallout 4 style aiming in Fallout 3, with maybe the sky's blue this time, maybe not everything's yellow. Like if it's on the Oblivion level, it's gonna be probably one of the best games of the year. And the thing is, Fallout 3 has so much content outside of the main game. Like the expansions for that game are insane. Like Mothership Zeta is probably my favorite expansion. You randomly get abducted.
Oh, that one was so fun.
Yeah, you get randomly abducted in this absolutely massive spaceship where you get the best weapons in the game. There's the pit, there's Operation Anchorage, Brotherhood of Steel, or Broken Steel, I think it was called. I love that one as well. Basically, the expansions in that game made it so you could actually go back into the wasteland after you finish the main game. Because originally, when you finish the game, it ends. But hey, it looks like it's coming. I do think it'll drop around the TV show because, Fallout had this huge uptick in popularity with the TV show. Because was anyone really talking about Fallout before the TV show? Like, it'd been a few years since we had Fallout 4. Fallout 76 was going through its issues at the time. Thankfully, now it's in a way better place. But, like, that TV show did so well for the franchise that Fallout 4 was #1 in all of Europe. Right? At that point, an 8-year-old game, hell, it got me to play Fallout 4 finally. But, like, Microsoft, I think at that point, they figured out, thankfully, that they can't go another, 8 years till the next Fallout game, right? They can't go till 2032 till Fallout 5. Can you? That's such a futuristic sounding year. I don't want that in my life. But like, I think they realized that they need more Fallout projects. Getting out remasters or remakes like this on a semi-regular basis would be great for their lineup. And Microsoft, they've been one of the few studios that hasn't really done many remasters. I think the popularity of this, sure, that you can put a lot of work into them, make the game feel fresh, make the game look fresh. Like, they could do it for all sorts. Like, Logan, what if Lost Odyssey gets this treatment?
Oh man, that'd be a euphoric day, for the Xbox community. Like, basically, I waxed poetic about Expedition 33 and how it kind of reminded me of Lost Odyssey, and that's like among the highest compliments I can give a game. Because Lost Odyssey is a masterpiece. Like,
Yeah.
few games have made me emotional or cry. That is one of the very few that did. It is just the story, the gameplay, everything is just brilliant, and it's absolutely criminal that that IP has just been sitting on ice, and that we never got a sequel or a remaster, or the fact that it isn't even in Game Pass.
Yeah.
How is it and Blue Dragon not in Game Pass? They are Xbox titles. Like, I already own them digitally, I own them physically, and so it's not like an issue for me, but it still just feels weird for accessibility. For you want to generate more interest in these, and they're classic gems that deserve to be played. They should at the very least be in Game Pass.
Yeah. It is, like, especially Lost Odyssey, that makes no sense because it's one of their own JRPGs basically. Like, why wouldn't you have that in your service unless Mistwalker doesn't want them in the service?
Yeah, unless there's some license that I just don't understand.
Yeah.
Unless it's that.
Yeah. And thankfully those games do appear on sale regularly. I think Blue Dragon up until last week was $2.99. I still recommend people get these games. They are gaming history, at least to me at this point. I will always talk about Lost Odyssey. Lost Odyssey's story. Oh my god, I could do a whole show talking about Lost Odyssey. For people that don't know, Lost Odyssey is a brilliant JRPG that came out in 2007, and you play as an immortal called Kame. Such an interesting story because throughout the entire game you find these short stories, and they essentially these are like little books you take maybe 5 to 15 minutes reading, and there's like some beautiful music and illustrations in the background, very light illustrations, and basically the different stories from Kane's whole past. So because he's been alive for hundreds of years, and some of the stories are absolutely heartbreaking, like genuinely heartbreaking to read. And that game has some of the best writing ever. And I think people need to play that game, even if it's just for the short stories alone. Like, the whole plot in that game is fantastic. The difficulty, though, the difficulty in that game is a bit brutal.
Oh, your blue worm buddy.
Like, oh, the blue worm thing. Like, I think the thing that genuinely put me off difficulty curves for life was actually that blue worm. Right, the first main boss outside of the tutorial is the hardest boss in the game. I don't know what they were thinking, but anyway, but if they remaster it and like give it difficulty modes, like Mistwalker's games are so difficult that when Fantasian Neo Dimension came to console, they actually put in a mode called normal, because the only game mode they had on mobile was, it had no name basically. It was too difficult, so they've had to make an easier mode called normal. Right, Mistwalker, love you, but stop making games this difficult. Like, I can't stand. Yeah, a lot of people filtered out after that blue worm boss. That blue worm boss, I'm right, and I know that blue worm boss. I had to grind for like 20 hours in the little patch of sand outside that boss area to just level up and get things like fire bombs and potions and stuff. That was atrocious. And then when you get past the desert area, I know a lot of people might not know what I'm talking about, but when you get past the little desert area, you have to fight a giant bird which can avoid half of your moves. Right? What were they thinking? But outside of that, it's a masterpiece. I love Lost Odyssey. And if Microsoft are listening, put that thing in Game Pass, remaster it. Why not? And I always hear from a lot of PC gamers that they want that game on PC. I
Oh,
can't see.
that'd be otherworldly beautiful
Yeah,
on a high PC.
yeah, they could do like fancy path tracing and all that stuff. I mean, hell, Xbox games are PC games, so why not? But yeah. Anyway, Fallout 3 remastered or remake coming later this year, which I 100% believe that's happening. Microsoft keeps insisting that there's more games coming out this year that we don't know about. It's crazy. You know what, Logan? We didn't actually get to talk about this last week because you weren't here, but what's your take on the whole Gears of War Reloaded situation?
Well, I was one of the people originally that was like, don't touch the trinity of games, basically, like the Gears, Halo, Forza, or like a Fable, like these iconic games. Like, leave them alone, the Xbox. Let people have some brand identity, yada yada yada. Well, clearly the powers that be in the financial departments at Microsoft had a different opinion, and they went with that. And at the end of the day, if you want to run a business and not a sports franchise or a team rah rah rah, or a just a community type thing, and you want to focus on bottom line dollars, of course you make these all multi-platform, because the more people who have access to it, the more potential people to buy it, the more people to play it, the more people to use microtransactions, yada yada yada. The money grows. I get it. I get it from a business standpoint. I'm still not a big fan of it, but I've accepted it at this point. I'm past old man yells at cloud stage. I get it. And at the end of the day, it doesn't bother me if other people can play games. Like, to me, a perfect world is all games are playable on all devices, and it's just different mega publishers that also have their own platform that have slight variances and differences to make them appeal to different people. Like, cars or phones. Like, there's iPhones, there's Androids. Like, imagine if there was only one phone, or, like one type of car, and that was it. That'd be ridiculous. So, at the end of the day, it wasn't my choice, my favorite choice, but I understand it, and I think it will do really well for the game and the franchise. I don't think it was necessary to make another remaster of this game when you have that awesome Ultimate Edition already. But hey, the fact they're making it free and not ripping off people who already own it is great. So I support that 100%. I'll play through it again. Always play through the Gears games. Love that franchise. And I'm happy more people get to experience it. I'm curious what they'll think of like a Lancer with dual sense controller and all this, and then like when does the rest of the Gears games come? And then at this point, Halo is an inevitability. It's not a good likelihood or this or that. It's like inevitable at this point. It seems like. So when that domino will finally drop, and then I'm curious when PlayStation will finally fully drop their barriers, because I think that will happen at some point. Whether, the fanboys online want to admit it or not, we're heading towards an industry where basically everything is going to be everywhere except maybe Nintendo, because they still operate like like a an 1800s company. It's just crazy.
Yeah. I was just wondering, like, I think Alan Wake 2 is still exclusive to the Epic Store. Just when we talk about, like, exclusivity and all that stuff, I'll have to check. But yeah, it is weird.
Man, that is such a bad move
Yeah.
in hindsight.
Oh, I just checked. Oh no, Alan Wake 2 is still only on the Epic Store. I mean,
Man, that neutered sales for that game, just point blank. Like, if they put that thing on Steam, I think it would have. Well, the game hasn't sold that great, but I bet it would double if it was on Steam.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about that game, I brought that up because, like, I've been asked so many times over the past year about, like, is it coming to Steam or is it on Steam yet? And, like, you said that we are moving to, like, a more multi-platform future, and, like, PlayStation, like, remember a few years ago, PlayStation, yeah, it's not on Steam, man, because I know people in real life that do actually want Alan Wake 2 on Steam. Let's see, how much is it on the Epic Store? $49.99. I'm sure that'll come, hopefully. But yeah, like, I'm sure, like, more companies will put more games on more platforms. Like Square Enix, like, we always talk about the Final Fantasy stuff. We do need to see more about
the tablet.
Yeah, I'm so angry that they put the Pixel remasters on bloody Kindle Fire tablets before Xbox. Like, if anyone ever finds a social media post of, like, anyone port begging JRPGs to come to Kindle tablets, please send me that picture. I want to see what these people look like, or if they even
There are
exist.
Fire tablet influencers, Jamie.
Yeah, oh god, there probably is as well. I'll have to look that up. But we'll hopefully find more out next month. But like even with Sony, right, they originally had no intention of putting games on PC. It is weird though, seeing a Gears of War logo next to a PlayStation logo, but that's just something we'll have to get over. Like, I don't agree with a lot of the moves Microsoft makes, but at the end of the day, I think they put out many interesting games. They have backwards compatibility. They have the integration, if I can say that properly, of Microsoft Rewards, which I use on a daily basis at this point in a world where game prices are going up bloody astronomically. But, like, we're obviously going to talk about, hardware in the future, because there's a lot of Xbox hardware we're going to have to talk about next week. But yeah, it's been a weird show today because we normally go on a Tuesday. We're back to normal next week. There are topics in the headline that you might be wondering, where the hell are these topics we haven't talked about, like Grand Theft Auto 6, which I've got stuff to talk about still. We've got Fable and the Xbox handheld. And yeah, the Fire tablet, the Ouya, and those all get Final Fantasy games before Xbox. By the way, we'll talk about this quickly. Obviously, it's the Xbox Summer Showcase in, 2 weeks? 3 weeks? Something like that. I'll have to check. I've got the calendar open. 2 weeks' time, basically. I will try and live stream it, as for the past 2 years in a row. I have had it so people can watch through my channel, watch the show live, and I'll talk over it and in between games and stuff. Do an after show. 100% plan on doing that again this year. I think this year's, game show, it's going to be interesting. By the way, if Final Fantasy VII Remake is there, and you happen to hear like a high-pitched noise, squeal sound, that's definitely not me. Just to put it out there. Because I really want that game on Xbox. Bloody hell, it's taking its time. Final Fantasy 7, all that stuff. But it should be a good show. The Outer Worlds 2, we're finally getting gameplay shown there that isn't by IGN. Not to hate on IGN on a weekly basis, but whenever they have gameplay demos on their website, I don't know who they get to play them because they can't aim for crap in a single player game. Don't know what they're thinking. Logan, have you got anything else to say before we close out the show?
Nah, just excited for the showcase. Can't wait to see what they reveal.
Yeah, that should be good. Now, what day is it today? It's the 22nd now, Thursday. Yeah, so okay, we'll have another show on the 27th, same time as usual. If I can get things working beforehand, I always keep talking about this green room thing where the first half hour of the show will actually start at 5:30 Eastern, where I'll talk about just random crap, talk to people in chat, talk about movies, wrestling. Although the wrestling I've found extremely boring the past few weeks. My God, thank God I don't have to pay for pay-per-views. It's all on Netflix. But maybe do the green room thing, and then the podcast will start at the regular time. And then when the podcast is finished airing, I cut the first half hour out. So to everyone else, it's basically just a gaming show. I'm still thinking about it. I might just go live earlier next week until Logan pops on. But anyway, everyone in chat has been amazing. The reason I love this chat is because we do get the occasional person coming in arguing about crap, but it's video games. We're meant to enjoy it, and I think that when you do a podcast and cover gaming on YouTube, we talk about games all the time, but when they come out, people move on to the next set of rumors and stuff, where we really need to talk about the games that's out and enjoy them. There's so many different game topics to talk about. The reason why we talk about so many different topics during this show is because I want to cover everything in the past week. Maybe that's a detriment to me, but I feel like it's fun to just talk about, even the smaller topics, even if it's for 30 seconds, a minute or whatever. It's just fun. Anyway, if you share it on social media, this channel, this podcast, it's greatly appreciated. Like, share, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to at the summer showcase or whatever. We'll be coming back for the same time next week. Or sorry, Tuesday. I'm all over the place today. The heat isn't helping. I feel like I'm melting, and I'm sitting in a leather chair. What an awful combination. But yeah, we'll be back Tuesday, same time. I should have a video going live after next week's podcast if it's not ready this Sunday. But anyway, everyone in chat's been amazing. We'll see you next week. We are out, everybody. Peace. Oh, and by the way, the links to our socials are in the description down below. Anyway, we're out, everyone. Have a good one. And